Guys, thanks for having me. It's good to be here. It's great to come back to good old Centennial. Like I said, it's class of '04. So I did all 4 years here. Unfortunately, I didn't do the culinary program. They had just started that up, and it was like my senior year. How many seniors we have in here? A couple, right? Awesome. I was looking at you, Dorian. So I had like 2 classes my senior year. I had enough credits, so I got out of here by like second period, and I went to the beach, and then I went to work, and that was that. But it's great to be here. I kind of want to just give you just a little bit of background, just kind of how I got to into the culinary world, and where that kind of fueled my inspiration for entrepreneurship. And so when they reached out for me to speak to this, and I said, I saw it was the Entrepreneurship Week. Did I get that right? I was pretty excited because that was really one of the key aspects of it, and the culinary really opened the doors. So I was, let's see, a junior, I think it was. I was going into my junior year, and probably like many of you guys, was about to get my license, and I was like, man, I want to get a car. I'm excited, and I'm like, Dad, what are we gonna do when we go car shopping? And he kind of looked at me. He's like, what are you gonna pay for it with? I said, oh yeah, I forgot about that part, right? He's like, you got insurance and gas and car payments. So he's like, go work. And I was like, okay. And I grew up off Floresta over by South Bend. I don't know if any of you guys live over there or know where that is, but I grew up right over there. And so I was like, well, what am I gonna do? He's like, I don't know, go wash dishes, go be a dishwasher. I said, okay. So I started. Anyone ever been to Lefty's? Lefty's Wings and Marble? Yeah, I started washing dishes there when I was like 15. And I just loved it. I'm an only child, so I all of a sudden had all these brothers and sisters, and people are throwing stuff, and everyone's running around, and screaming and yelling at each other, and making awesome jokes that can't say in school. And I was like, this is awesome, And I loved it. When I was a senior in high school, I was working at Ruby Tuesdays. Anyone remember where that used to be? Right out here. I was working there, and my GM, she said, why don't you go to culinary school? So I said, oh, that sounds cool. At that time, Gordon Ramsay was on like season 1 of Hell's Kitchen, so it was like really cool to be this rock star chef. And so my dad said, hey, go to culinary school. He's like, I think you're crazy. He's like, you're going to work a lot of hours. You're going to work nights, holidays, weekends. And I said, yeah, well, that sounds like fun. So, and it actually worked out to be kind of fun. But anyway, I got this job at this restaurant called Roddy's. And it was out on the beach on Hutchinson Island. And it was a 5-star, super high-end restaurant. I got a job just prepping vegetables. I would just cut vegetables in the corner of the kitchen next to the steamer. And when I remember walking in there, and there was so much product that I had never seen before. The chefs actually worked there and wore real chef coats, and there was equipment that I had never seen before. And here I am. I thought I had mastered the kitchen working at Ruby Tuesdays, and it was really insightful, and I learned a lot there. Fast forward, I graduated from here, started in culinary school. And that place where I worked at Roddy's gave me the foundations. It was really awesome to work with a la minute saute stations, to learn fundamentals of sauces and cooking techniques, and just really created a passion for food for me. But all this whole time, I'm watching the business aspect of this, even just from my perspective, chopping vegetables in the corner. I was watching the business perspective, and seeing people come in and spend thousands of dollars at dinner and wine, and we'd have celebrities come through the restaurant, and all of a sudden, you see the GM and you see the head chef, and they go out to the dining room, and they're shaking hands and hanging out with all the these. Whether they're important people in the community or they were celebrities or whatever the case may be. And I was like, wow, how does that work? And they're the ones driving the fancy cars. And I'm like, that's what I want to do. And so I just got to work. I just tried to absorb as much of the industry that I could. Fast forward, after I graduated culinary school, I ended up trying to open my own restaurant. My father, he passed away when I was 19, and so that was kind of tough being an only child. I tried to stay close to my mom, and the chef that I worked for a couple years prior at Roddy's, he opened a restaurant, and I went in as a very minor partner. I had saved up some money, and we opened a small little restaurant. And for about the first year, we were really busy. It was great. My partner was a little bit crazy, so we split ways. And I was maybe, I don't know, 23, 24 at the time. And I said, okay, I can make this restaurant happen. And man, I worked day and night. And actually, when the recession came in 2008, 2009, some of you guys are probably too young to remember that, but might have heard about it. It totally just crashed the restaurant industry, especially locally here. And I had no choice but to close, and we went out of business. And it hurt, right? Because that was like my baby. You know what I mean? That was my passion project. I can't tell you. I mean, I was pulling 19, 20 hours a day working there. I mean, we were making our own desserts. We were making our own bread at times. We were, my team and I, we were working really hard, and we couldn't keep up with the economy. So that's kind of really where I learned a lot, was through that failure process, right? And if you think of failure, how many people might think failure is bad? Okay, good answers. It's not. That's where you learn so much. And had I not gone through that process, I definitely would not have learned what I needed to learn to kind of turn my career around a little bit. So I learned a lot about what not to do at that point in time. And I said, you know what, I need to go somewhere where the economy's not as impactful, and I can go make some quick money, because now I got a lot of debt, right? And I need to go learn about some finance, because I thought I had a handle on it. I don't. So I ended up down in South Beach, down in Miami, because those were the only places that were hiring at the time. I ended up working at this really high-end, large restaurant called Smith & Wollensky. I don't know if anyone's ever been down there in South Beach. But it's an 850-seat, 2-story steakhouse right on the intercoastal, where all the yachts and the cargo ships come in. And I started as a server, and it was really cool, because anybody like the Miami Heat? Who likes Miami Heat? I like the Miami Heat. Every time they won a home game, when Pat Riley and the coaches, they would all come and hang out and have a celebratory dinner. I actually got to do an event at Pat Riley's house when Chris Bosh and LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, when all those guys were there. I got to take a picture with LeBron, sipping champagne. It was pretty cool. So anyway, and talk about celebrities. I mean, we'd have all the hip hop stars. We'd have all the movie people coming through, and I was like, okay, this is what we're talking about. And working there as a server gave me a whole nother perspective of the business. I got to learn the front of the house. I got to learn the delivery of the food to the table. Knowing how to cook it and everything is huge. But understanding how those guests are going to perceive it when they get it at the plate, and what those steps that front of house needs to go through to deliver the story that you guys are telling when you're cooking the food, to me really kind of just helped put all the pieces to the puzzle together. In the sake of time, I ended up spending another 7 or 8 years working with corporate restaurants, just learning the mechanics, learning how they work, learning what makes them really good, what makes them efficient, and really studying their business model. And then I got a chance to go back to the restaurant that was on the beach, the one I worked at in high school, except it was called Pietro's. So when Hurricanes Gene and Francis came through in 2004, it closed that restaurant, which is why I ended up going south. And it had sat empty for 9 years. And has anyone been to that restaurant, my restaurant now on the beach? I know Dorian has. So that was the one that I worked at when I was your guys' age. And it was really cool. So this guy, Pietro, he leased it from a new owner. He hired me as his executive chef. It was really cool because 9 years it sat empty. Last time I was in the building, I was chopping vegetables next to the steamer, and then I got to come back as the head chef. I got to write my own menu and, do my whole deal, right? And I was there for about another year. I was there for a year, and I really didn't enjoy working with him as a business leader. It didn't work. So I left. I went back with corporate for another 4 years, and then when he went out of business, I reached out to the landlord and I said, hey, over the last 4 years. Here's what I've done. Here's the business plan I wrote for it. And I'm like, what do you think? And he said, go, it's yours. And that was June of 2017. And then we opened in September of 2017. And since then, we've gone from about 100 team members, 300 team members. We've got 3 restaurants with number 4 under construction. Number 5, we just picked up a management contract with another local billionaire, for lack of a better term, who we're going to build out that concept and operate it on the day-to-day basis. And then number 6 and number 7. Number 6 is next year, and then number 7 is a year after that we've got those deals done and signed for. And once we get to number 7, we'll have just over 700 team members, and we'll have quite a sizable organization. So that's kind of the path so far. But I think going back to these key moments of large failures or even like small failures and successes that we have are really crucial, because you have 2 choices when you face those things. You can either stop and quit and just say, that's it, I'm done, or you can find a way to keep going and say, all right, what is this trying to teach me? I used to do martial arts when I was in high school, and one of the things that Bruce Lee said is pain leaves you when you're done learning from it, or when it's done teaching you what you need to know. And failure is kind of the same way. If you just give up, you in fact do fail. But if you learn from it and are able to pull whatever story or necessity out of that, that's going to kind of change the whole game for you, because you're going to learn what not to do or how to do something better. And you'll be able to move on and move forward and actually use that as a positive, right? Anyone play sports? Play sports. You ever mess up the first time trying to learn a new technique in your sports? Like for me, it was baseball. I didn't start hitting home runs the first time I was up to bat. You got to work through it, and you got to trust the process a little bit. What else? I mean, that's kind of the story in a nutshell. I was hoping to kind of be a little bit more interactive. So, I mean, I've got some questions, but if anybody wants to throw some questions out there, we could go that route. Dorian, shoot.
How old were you when you opened your first restaurant?
I was 21. I was 21.
What would you say your largest hurdle?
Now in today's age, like as far as like in our organization, or somebody getting started on their first one? There's a handful of hurdles that they're not insurmountable, but there's something to be aware of. So the first one would definitely be your market, right? Know your market, and look at what is or isn't being served in that area. So you don't want to open a pizza place and have 12 pizza places around you. And look at what is or isn't being served, and if you can fill that, do you have a passion for it, right? And then if you do you have the skill set to pull it off? I think that's first and foremost. And then second will be your operations. Who's going to work with you, and how are you going to help them achieve what their goals are while they're helping you achieve what your goals are. I saw a couple hands. Yeah, go ahead. We'll go with you, the hat, and then next. Ooh, good question. Yeah, absolutely. One of my biggest regrets is being too lenient in the beginning. So when we opened, I spent a lot of time and effort on my hourly team member training stuff. When we first opened on Kyle G's in 2017, but I didn't have the time to put enough management training together. And so what happened was, I said, "Oh, I'll be able to be there, work with them, and help facilitate." And what ended up happening was, in the first year, it kind of got out of control as far as how the managers were conducting themselves, and I was too lenient in the beginning, but it was because I didn't have the structure set up first. So one of my biggest regrets would be not setting the playing field, right, and setting the structure so that they knew how to operate and could have been successful. Because we've got some great people on our team that have been with us, or on a couple of our teams that have been with us for a long time, and they've gone from bartender to general manager. Our head chef at the Ocean right now was our dishwasher 5 years ago. So we have some great people that have, really, done tremendous for themselves and their careers. But consequently, there's also a handful of people that have worked for us that couldn't make it because of that environment that I didn't create in a positive light first. Does that make sense? So that's one of my regrets, is seeing some of these folks with really great talent who kind of just squandered it and weren't able to realize their potential. Another question? Go ahead, sir. Ooh, that's a great question. So there's a couple things. And it's changed over the years, right? So for me, in the early ages, or early days rather, I would see these whether it was an organization or maybe it was a chef, right, that I knew, and they weren't that good. Not to be rude, they just weren't that good. And I go, how are they getting this $80,000-$90,000 a year job as a chef? And I'm like, I could do that. Maybe I can't do it now, but I could do that. And when I do get there, I'm gonna do it better than them. I'm like, why? How do they get it? So one of the things that motivated me was I really wanted to kind of, put my name on the scoreboard, if you will. I wanted to say, hey, I can do it. We could, and not only can we do it, but I'm going to do it better. I'm going to figure out how. Not from an ego way, just because it was a personal challenge for me. Another motivation for me was coming through was my father. I got to watch him kind of build his organization while I was like in middle school, going through high school before he passed. So that was a huge eye-opener for me. But now, about a year and a half ago, I just had a baby. So my daughter's now my motivation. But then lastly is also the team, right? Kind of like just going back, it's all about the team and the people you work with. So being able to help people facilitate, their career path for me is huge. Being able to do stuff like this for me is huge because I don't remember who it was and I don't remember what they said, but I know that I sat through presentations like this in school and somebody said something that triggered something that I was like, okay, it is possible, right? So there's a couple factors there. And then again, growing up in this community, I like to be able to contribute positively and give back to the community. We do a lot with the Boys and Girls Club. We do a lot with another organization called Operation 300, where they help military families whose parents might have been killed in action. They do all types of events and camps and stuff with them. Over Friday, on Veterans Day, we told veterans, hey, come on into our restaurants, up to $49, you guys eat for free. And we had over 410 veterans who fought for our freedom come in and enjoy a meal with their family for free. I mean, it was fantastic. But to be able to, we decorate the restaurants all red, white, and blue. We had a bald eagle at the Ocean. We had like an old World War II Jeep sitting outside. They were doing the air show. We were trying to get the F-16s to do a flyby. Like it was pretty cool. So there's a lot. Not to get too long-winded, but there's a lot. And I think when you're looking for those things that motivate you, think about what are those things that you constantly think about every day. And maybe it's not culinary, maybe it's not restaurants, maybe it's computer engineering or marketing or sports medicine, or there's so many different avenues. Think about what is it of those things that you're constantly thinking about, whether it's your field or something that means a lot to you in your personal life, right? Maybe you've got an older sibling or that you look up to, or a younger sibling that you want to make sure that you can give them a good example. There's so many things on the individual level you can find. What else? Go ahead. Good question. So fortunately, coming up through through the ranks, through line cook and then sous chef and executive chef, you kind of get a feel for the vendors to a degree at that point, because the chef you're working for is ordering stuff or has a relationship with them, and if they're a good vendor, they're going to make relationships with the sous chefs, or oftentimes, as a line cook, if you're a good line cook, you're usually the one that gets the first phone call. Hey, I need you to come in today, right? Dorian works at the Oyster Bar for us. Is that right?
Yeah.
They call you all the time, like, hey, you want some extra hours?
Yeah, most of the time.
Yeah, see? And so what will happen is the vendors, when they come in to, talk or pick up a check or whatever it is, they start seeing you, right? Because you're always there. And then so it goes into you build that relationship with your sales reps. And then as other, companies come in, because they all want your business, you can kind of start to learn about who carries what products, and do those products they carry represent the quality that you want in your restaurants, so that you can get great quality product at a great price, and which helps give great quality to your guests, right? I saw another question. Yes, sir.
So from somebody that came in yesterday, I believe the director of training, she said that from your guys' first business, you had 17 people who stayed with you throughout the entirety.
Yes, so what she meant was we've had 17 people that have been with us from day one over at Kyle G's, that hit their 5-year anniversary in September.
And what do you think was their motivation in terms of staying with you?
Great question. I think they believed in the bigger picture. They knew what we had set out to do, and they wanted to be a part of that at any level. But also, a lot of them were in our management, and so because they were part of the organization from the ground up, and they've seen the successes and failures we've had internally in the last 5 years, and they've kind of gone through the war with us, if you will. They believe in it, and they're proud to be on the team, and they also make really great money, so that helps too. That helps too. But no, I think that's a lot of the motivation. And we built these relationships with our team, and so when I gave them their awards with their names on them, the plaques. Yeah, we give you these nice little blue glass teardrop trophy things. Most of them were crying, and some were they were the dishwasher, server. Again, our head chef Jerry, he was our dishwasher 5 years ago, so he's really just progressed and learned and just absorbed, and just said, hey, whatever you need, chef, I'm here and I got it. And now he's in a 6-figure job position, just absolutely killing it. So it's I think that has a lot to do with that culture, right? So